Hi guys, it's Amy and you have found Amy Loves Crochet. I want to thank you for clicking on any of my videos. I do sincerely appreciate your time. Now the video is titled Dena's Daisy, but we're going to wait until the very end to share that because it's my most exciting thing to share with you today. The first thing I'm going to go ahead and share with you and get out of the way is, not get out of the way, but I did these projects like 2 months ago, 3 months ago. So there's a little bit of anticlimactic feeling about them, but I haven't shown them to you yet. So I'm going to go ahead and start out the video like that. You all know about my mug that maybe you do, maybe you don't. I bought this and you guys had sent me all these stickers from my keepsake blanket square squad request. And so I got all my stickers here and I Mod Podged them onto this drink mug, and I use this all the time and I love it, and people give me tons of attention about it. So it opens up conversation, topics all the time about my crochet. So in the car, when I'm in the car, the silver that is in the cup blinds me with reflection. So I had one of these on my cup before. I just crocheted a little round to put over the straw so that it isn't blinding me. And my previous cup had the straw on the edge. So when I got this cup, I had to do a new one because the straw is in the center. And I just used some cotton yarn, no big deal. The yarn that I used is right here. Whoops. I used my 4mm G hook. And this is a cotton acrylic blend. This Softy Cotton by Bernat. I have had this for years. There's a 2020 tag here on the wrapper. But I'm not sure when I actually bought it. I do believe this was a clearance at Joann's, I think. And I got a bunch of white, and I also have a solid blue color, and I have a solid brown color, and then I also have a variegated brown. So I've had, fun playing with the different projects to put this yarn into use. But again, it's a 60% cotton and 40% acrylic. So just some scraps. You can kind of use probably whatever if you were going to make these as well. But in addition to the top of my mug reflecting the silver and blinding me when the sun is really nice out, so does my console. And so what I decided to make, and it's going to look silly, and I don't know how applicable it's really going to be because my son has been using my car since I made these. Like the weekend that I finished making these, he started borrowing my car. And so I haven't really had the opportunity to put them into use yet. Did I say that already, or was I just thinking that? So it's all, there's no pattern for any of it. It's just kind of, I was just winging it as I went just to make a applicable project. But my radio, the face of my radio, and it's, a navigation system and a map and stuff, and it is very reflective. So these little knobs, these little holes here are for the radio knobs. And because I couldn't figure out how to put it onto the dashboard, or, without making a mess, or, some sticky. So I just put little holes to go over the radio dials, and then this sits over the rest of the face of my console. So, or supposed to. So, it's gonna stop that sun from blinding me. So I'm thinking, okay, I'm driving along and I've got that idea set, and then I got a different blinding direction. And so I made also one for where my stick shift goes. Not my stick shift. It's an automatic. So whatever that's, yeah, it's a stick shift, I guess. My park, neutral, reverse, whatever. So there's silver that lines around it. And so it was blinding me as well. So I just did a little chain and then worked into it, measured it as I went. It was kind of silly, but I'm gonna be that goofy person who's like entire inside of her car is crochet bombed. And so my husband has a couple of spots in his car as well, in his truck. And he's looking at me and he's like, don't even think about it. So we'll figure out something else to do for his, but that was just some projects that I had finished and I had not ever shown you, so I could mark that shown. Okay. So before I get into my main project, again, I want to show you something else that I was working on right up until this morning. These did not turn out the way that I wanted them to, and I don't know if that's a good thing or a bad thing. I mean, they're fine the way they are, but I just don't know what I expected. And So my first two didn't turn out at all like that. And so I'll just start talking about them. So my father had Alzheimer's, and it would have been nice if I had known that there was such a thing as crochet fidget toys back in that day. But I have been thinking about them lately and wanted to make some. And so the first one, the pattern that I found, and I watched 4 different patterns. This first one, I'm not going to say it. I'm just going to put it into the video down here. And that pattern was all about single crochets. So in addition, she says to chain about 10 to 15. And so I did 15, and I realized that the hole is just way, way, way too big for what I thought it was supposed to look like. So I don't know if you're familiar with what a fidget toy is, but they call it a Mobius, I guess, because it's twisted. And so it just pulls in on itself. It's a never ending. You take a strip and then flip one side when you're going to put the chain together. And so you're just increasing and increasing and increasing, which is what gives it all the extra rolls of material here. But you can see that the hole is very large, and so you can continue to make this bigger and bigger as you'd like to, and kind of fill in that space, I guess. So I decided that this was kind of big enough, and my orange was just about out, so I decided to go ahead and finish that one. I tied that one off. The next one that I picked up was this pattern, and this is made by Hooked for Life, Mary Beth Temple. And she uses double crochets, so it's much bigger and it grew much faster. But I think it feels like it's too much. And I know that that's, what do I know about a fidget toy, but it feels like it's too much. So again, with here it is, the size. The starting strip is double crochets, and so you're already bigger, and she does 15 of them. I think I did 15 of them. Yeah, so you chain 17 and then double crochet into the second, blah, blah, blah. And so you don't even really see the pink, like, unless you're digging in there. I don't know how I thought that the color rotations were supposed to happen, but it's the same idea. You put I think she's got 3 double crochets into each hole, or into each stitch, and you just pull it through. It's supposed to be a fidgety thing, but it's not really smooth because it's so big, and so you pull like way more through the hole than I think you're supposed to, or whatever. I don't know what's supposed to, but it is just something to work on, play with, keep your attention if you're just ADHD and you got to play with something. I don't know. I was you try to get the feel for these things, and it's just not it looks like a scrubby. Like I want to take it in the shower with me and do a scrubby, which I guess you could do if you wanted to do that as well and use some cotton yarns or whatever. So that one just kind of turned out okay. Again, I don't know what I was expecting out of these things, but she does 4 rounds, and I only did 3 rounds, and it's already this big. So I don't know how it took so long to go all the way around. You're working on a solid loop. After you get the first twist done in the beginning, then you're just working in the round, if you will, but you have to pull your work through the round. It's kind of interesting. If you haven't done one already, I suggest you give it a shot. It's, something different for you. So this last one, I did those 2 yesterday. And again, that large one took a lot longer than I kind of thought it was going to. So I wanted to make another one like the first one, but not make the hole as big. So on that one, I did 15 chains. This one, I only did 10. And it's a lot better. I didn't know what color to go with next with my scraps. And I didn't want to be tying in, like, this is great for scraps, but I didn't want to be tying in a bunch of ends on this thing. It was already kind of fidgety, kind of fiddly, getting your fingers in there with a sewing needle and stuff. So I made another one that was just in red and blue, a little bit easier to see on the eyes maybe. And again, I did 10 chains for that one, and 7 rounds of single crochet, 1, and then an increase. And so there's a hair, like on all my work, there's a hair. And so this one, I guess for size wise, it's better. The hole is kind of smaller, like I thought it sort of should be, I guess. I just wanted like some more color involved maybe, you know, you could play with colors so many different ways, but I didn't want to, I didn't have all my scraps sitting next to me when I was finishing this, and I wanted to just kind of get done with it so that I could talk about the fact that the whole was so much better at 10 chains than it was at 15, in my opinion. And this is all worsted weight acrylic yarn with a 5mm hook. So this one kind of feels like the most like it's supposed to. It's not as large, and you know, you pull the item through the hole. I don't know. I mean, maybe for those who don't have the ADHD or need the fidgeting, it kind of doesn't make a lot of sense. But if you know, you know, right? So those were my fidget toys. The other two projects that I looked at, the tutorials that I kind of watched through, was one that, oh, I don't have it right here. I think she called it like a sunflower fidget. It was very small, and it looked, she only used brown and yellow, so it looked like a sunflower. And then the last one that I looked at didn't do the Mobius thing. She just worked in a round and she made a magic ring, and I can't remember how many she started with, but then she said, put as many double crochets into that stitch as you possibly can. And so after she got as many as she possibly could in there, she did 4 double crochets into each one. And it was like a big giant brain, kind of looked like this, but it didn't pull through. There was no hole for it to pull through. I mean, there was a hole, but it just became a big bundle like this. So you could just play with the layers, play with the brain parts like this, but there was no pulling through. And when I'm already on the mindset, like doing a fidget toy, to make one that doesn't pull through, I thought that would be like confusing to maybe participants or people using it or whatever. So I didn't make one of those. You know, this is definitely a project that I think that I can keep on my radar as a make them in between bigger projects. You know, you guys have, I've told you about those, my 2 projects that I'm not in love with, but I'm trying to fall in love and make them beautiful things or whatever. And so I need some other stuff on the background. I'm also working on the mandala wrap still. Now, to say mandala means that big, beautiful, colorful thing. No, it means mandala yarn. So I've got that wrap still working on, and it's so long. To get one row done takes me forever, but it's a nice in-between project as well. So again, I didn't want to work on that last one, but maybe I still will, just because, and keep it separate from these or something. I don't know. But those were my little fidgety guys. So those were fun. Okay, so before I get into Dena's Daisy, I wanted to sort of do just a little bit of a recap to talk about this other project that sort of ties into that, and this other project that sort of ties into that. So I guess the first thing I'll tell you is, if you have watched my channel for a little bit, you may have seen all about the keepsake blanket. So I just wanted to share with those who maybe didn't know about that. Last year, I put out a video to request my viewers to make a granny square and mail it to me so that I could make myself a keepsake blanket. Nobody knows the future. We don't know what's going on with YouTube or with your own personal lives. And so I just kind of wanted to take a snapshot, have you guys send in little crochet squares and see what I could come up with making my own. And you guys came out in droves. You sent me so many squares. I had 2 blankets to make. So I sent one out to K&K Crochet was one of my drawees, one of the winners. And I think Thrifty Chickadee, were you the other one? Yeah, Christine. So here is my blanket. I thought I'd pull it out and show it to you just kind of as a little reminder. I have not tied in my ends yet. I think we're coming up on a year. I think I asked in August of last year. So the blanket's been done for quite some time, but just put to the side, and I did not tie in my ends yet. So if you see them, do not judge me. So just real quick, just a fun thing. You know, I know who's made which ones. I have notes on all of it so I can remember who made every square. A lot of them are just in my mind anyway, and it was a lot of fun to put the blanket together. I included specific, specific places where the squares were not the same size as each other. I wanted that very, very specifically for myself. So I really, really love my blanket, and thank you guys again for sending all my squares in. But one of the squares that was sent in was Dena's Daisy. So I'm going to insert a little clip from that video here. Let me read this again. Okay. This is made with Karen 1 pound, and the pattern is from Mikey at the Crochet Crowd. The pattern set is called Flora Afghan. Look at that. This is bigger than my head. This is gorgeous, Dena. Oh, what a great pattern. If you guys are interested in finding that, this is the chrysanthemum square. She likes to make it with a brown center and the yellow leaves. That's a sunflower. Oh, this is the daisy version. I love that. That's awesome, Dena. Thank you so much for telling me about them too with the notes. So that's what my project that I was going to be working on. You know, that's my excitement that I have to share with you for this video is Dena's Daisy is done. And so one of the other projects that I've made in the past that I shared with you guys was this pillow that I made with strips of, this is 2 double crochet rows at the same time. As you're crocheting along, you do a number of chains and then crochet into those, and it creates 2 rows of double crochet at the same time. So I love to do that. I've done blankets and I have a tutorial on that. I'll link that in the description below. But this is a blanket that I made, a pillow that I made, and I put the strips together sort of like this pie top, this lattice work, and it was really a lot of fun. And these were all colors from Sugar Wheel, Yarn Bee Sugar Wheel. Here's one of them here. This is one that I still have a full skein left, just to show you the label. And we are 100% acrylic. So this is made with some scraps of a couple of different cakes, if I'm not mistaken, maybe just one. I don't remember now. But a lot of fun. It was something that I hadn't done before. And then I just did a single crochet border all the way around and stuffed it in there. So now we're going to get in close and look at details. I told you then, I'm not going to ever lie to you guys about stuff or hide lies of omission. I didn't do enough strips. When you're doing your math out, you got to do it right. And I didn't do enough strips. And so you see the pillow a little bit in there. And I just thought that, you know, over time, the pillow is going to scrunch down and it'll all come together and you won't even see it. So I learned from doing this, I learned what I was going to do next time I was going to work on a pillow. So hubby and I are moseying on through Walmart, and I knew I had Dena's Daisy in my head over here. And I knew that eventually I was going to work on more pillows. And so we were walking past that section and I grabbed this 2-pack of pillows. So just 16-inch pillows from whatever brand you've got. They didn't, you know, it doesn't look real super thick to me. So, you know, I didn't know exactly how big Dena's Daisy was, and I didn't know if it would stretch to work with a 16-inch pillow or be too big or be too small or whatever. So it was just kind of in the background. I'll work on it at some point, whatever type of idea. But I decided to go ahead and knock that out. Boop, 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 boop. So here is Dena's Daisy in pillow form. And here is my done better, my lattice work. So I knew when I was going to be putting this onto the pillow that I wanted, my brain is like, okay, here's a daisy, and I wanted a green background. I wanted like a flower situation. I wanted that garden thought process, right? And the green, I've had tons of green yarn for my whole like career journey. I've got way too much green. Green is one of those colors that is very specific. Like a different shade of green works for a pattern when another one does not, you know. So anyway, so of all the greens that I had, the one that really I wanted to work with on this was A Pound of Love by Lion Brand. But it's a very thin 4. And this is not a very thin 4. This is a fatter 4, as you heard her say it was care on 1 pound. And it's a little bit of a thicker 4. So what I did was, this is, again, one of these sugar wheels, and the colorway is called From the Garden. So I thought that that would be very applicable to my garden idea, my daisy, my flower in the garden. So the blue was from some scrap. I didn't want to necessarily use the blue I wanted to kind of stick with the grays and the green and then that yellow. I didn't want any of the pink in there as well. But when I was doing my mathing, I got to a point where I was going to be too few again, like this. I had to come up in numbers. I had to put the extra strap in there. I wanted to go, you know, error in the side of too many straps as opposed to too few straps. So I decided to go ahead and add the pink onto that, add the blue onto that. So these are different shades of gray that came, only a few shades of gray that came in. I know From the Garden was the one that I used, and then Honey Bunny was the other colorway. I think this one came from Honey Bunny, if I'm not mistaken. I can't remember now. You know, you know these yarns and you know all their colorways and all the, look at how many different colorways you get. You know, 1, 2, 3, 4 different colorways in one cake. And sometimes it's shared the same. Like, I think this blue is the same as this blue. I think they used the same blue and then just put it in 2 different colorway rotations, you know? So sometimes the colors are closer together than you think, and sometimes they're not. So anyway, if you can see as you get up close to this, I am not at all showing any middle parts. This goes from corner to corner to corner. You don't see any little white areas at all. I love it. Any sections of the pillow at all. So I wanted this to be, I didn't want the seam to go all the way around. I wanted the seam to be from the inside. So I did hold the 2 faces together and then did a single crochet around the inside so that this would like roll over and not have a point to it, you know, like a height to it from a single crochet. And on each of the panels, so like on this panel, my bottom strip was green, so I put green along the border to sew the strips together first, so then I could sew a solid line to the other pillow side, I mean to the other side. So on the side that was the pink here, I made this my last side that I completed. So the pillow fit in, you know, on these 3 sides. And then I went ahead and slip stitched from the outside in pink. So the slip stitch is very flat, and I thought that that was the best way to sort of hide, you know, when you seam it together on the inside, it's sort of flat like this, and I wanted the final side to look as close as it could to the other sides. So I'm super duper excited for Dena's daisy pillow to be done. It was kind of in my mind for some time. And Dena, I can't thank you enough. Again, this was such a special square to the rest of, you know, the squares that I had going. There was no way I was going to put it in with a blanket. It needed to stand out on its own. So there's my Dena's daisy finished project. All right, guys. Thank you so much for sitting with me today. I appreciate your time. Have a wonderfully blessed day, and I hope you'll come back and see me again. Thank you so much. Bye-bye.